Good evening and welcome to the commemorative area of the Australian War Memorial for this special last post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings. Shortly, a current serving member of the Australian Defence Force will read tonight's story. We would like to acknowledge the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who continue to watch the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record, which they themselves made. Now, we will hear the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century.
Good evening. My name is Corporal Brimley Jane Smythe, and I'm currently serving with the Australian Air Force. Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Maurice John Purcell. Maurice Purcell was born about 1898 to a large family of John and Bridget Purcell in Melbourne. Known by the nickname of Monty, Purcell attended the Christian Brothers School at Abbotsford and was a member of the Cadets. Purcell enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in Melbourne in March 1915. According to family accounts, despite claiming to be 18 years old, Purcell was only 16 when he enlisted and obtained written permission from his father, who believed that his son would just run away and join otherwise. Purcell was allotted to the 1st Reinforcements to the 23rd Battalion and began initial training at Broadmeadows. In May 1915, the battalion embarked on the troop ship Euripides, bound for Egypt. After further training, the 23rd Battalion was committed to the Gallipoli campaign in September 1915 and was soon manning one of the most trying parts of the Anzac front line, Lone Pine. At Lone Pine, the fighting was so dangerous and exhausting that battalions were relieved every day. The 23rd manned Lone Pine, alternating with the 24th Battalion until leaving Gallipoli in December 1915. Following the withdrawal from Gallipoli, the AAF went through a period of reorganisation and expansion in Egypt. On 18 March 1916, while the 23rd Battalion was at Moaska Camp in Egypt, Purcell was posted as a deserter and awarded 28 days field punishment, number 2, punished as if he were under a sentence of imprisonment with hard labour. Disciplinary issues continued to follow Purcell throughout the year, and he continued to gain further field punishment and forfeit pay. The next destination for the 23rd Battalion was the Western Front. First arriving in France in March, on 10 April 1916, it occupied forward trenches of the Armentières sector in northern France. This relatively gentle introduction to the Western Front was followed in July by the horrific battles of Pozières and Mouquet Farm, after which it was estimated that the battalion lost almost 90% of its original members. The next trial came at the Second Battle of Bullecourt in May. While the 23rd Battalion succeeded in capturing all of its objectives and holding them until relieved, it was subjected to heavy counterattacks. The first day of this battle was the battalion's single most costly of the war. After this, the battalion was withdrawn from the line. By November 1916, the conditions on the Western Front had started to take their toll on Purcell, who was admitted to hospital with trench feet, caused by a prolonged exposure to cold, wet, unsanitary conditions. He was back with his unit in late December, but in March the next year suffered from influenza, and in June troubled by an abscess on his jaw. In early September 1917, the 23rd Battalion moved into positions around Ypres in Belgium. On the night of 21 September, the battalion was making its way to the front line to relieve two other battalions when it encountered enemy artillery fire, which caused 13 casualties. Among the dead was Private Maurice John Purcell. He was buried in the huge crater cemetery 4 kilometres east of Ypres, where he lies today under the epitaph chosen by his mother. Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on his soul. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Maurice John Purcell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for watching and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.